Werx fans, and welcome to Hobby News Around the World. This one's going to be kind of short because there's not a lot going on, but one of the biggest pieces of news that's come down is that Trumpeter Models is actually, we're going to be working with Hasbro toys and games, and supposedly going to be doing some toy design for them and hopefully model kit distribution through Hasbro. So might see a little bit more distribution of model kits through toy stores and the like, but we'll just see what happens with that. I'm not sure exactly what's going to transpire, but Hasbro does have a bigger reach with basically movies and having special contracts with movies, so maybe that'll translate over into Trumpeter's line. Also, Trumpeter's working with some independent films, and so hopefully they'll be having some vehicles and things to those. They already announced that there was supposed to be a type of vehicle to some movie. I'll hopefully have more information on that here in a sec. The only other news is that, I might have mentioned it before, is that Minicraft is working with a craft line now. At the Nuremberg Toy Fair, they announced that they're going to have some craft items, so hopefully that won't take too much away from their hobby side. So that is really about it for the hobby news around the world. And so up next will be future kit releases. Hello again, and it is now time for future kit releases and kit related items. And our blotter this week says that last time I mentioned about Creasy, the book company that took over for Ian Allen, that does some really thick books on Russian aircraft. They have announced on the tail of the MiG-29 35 release is going to be one on the MiG-23/27, so that'll be nice. That's one they have not done before in that series, so it's not a redo or update on that. So that should be out hopefully this year pretty soon. The next one is Kitty Hawk is coming out with an HH-60G Pave Hawk. This will be very welcome, especially if it's a better fit than the Academy one. Academy one wasn't bad, but it had a lot of shortcomings, so this one will be much nicer. It will carry a fairly heavy price tag because it's going to have a lot to it, including a crew. So we'll see what's going on with that. They're also announced this week that they're going to do a SH-60F, what they call an Ocean Hawk, which is a derivative of the Seahawk helicopter, which Academy never did, which this is so nice that they're doing it, because it is different enough that it would make a very hard conversion in 35th scale. It looks like from the markings that it's coming with that they will probably do a Seahawk conversion or parts in there to do some of the lantern system on it. So hopefully you'll be able to backdate it to one of the early Seahawks. So we'll see what happens there. Waiting eagerly for that one. The next one up is at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, Trumpeter had announced a 1/200 scale Titanic. They had a mock-up built up there. It is going to be massive, and it is going to be super detailed. With all the information now that's out on the Titanic, it should be really, really accurate. Not sure what the price tag is going to be, probably about $400, but if you're a Titanic fan, that is going to be the ultimate ship to build. And other companies will probably come out with interior detail sets and so forth. So next one up is Revell of Germany is going to be releasing a 747-100, the first series of the 747, which would be really nice. The only ones that were available before were a really old kit, which had raised panel lines and so forth. This should be a whole new tool, but in the 100 short humpback on the 747, it was a shorter one, so it'll be nice to be able to do all kinds of different markings. Hopefully aftermarket will come out with all types of different markings. It looks like the kit is going to have the initial rollout markings with the red slashes on it, so waiting for that one. That'll be a nice one. Academy Models is coming out with a 1/35th scale AH-1Z Cobra, and there's a couple of them floating out there right now. Some people have already got some test shots and have started building them up. Looks really nice. They've got a lot of slide molding on it, and it's going to make it really easy to build. The rear fuselage is actually one piece hollow, so you won't have a lot of seam lines, so it looks like it's going to be a really clean build and a really easy build, but lots of detail, so that'll be nice. Trumpeter is going to release in their 32nd scale MiG-29 series the MiG-29 SMT Humpback. This will be kind of nice because there's a lot of different countries that have this one, including the Ukraine. So it'll be an interesting version of that. It is going to be the fourth one in the series that they're doing now, the MiG-29A series. They did some MiG-29s years ago, which were lacking in a few places, but not too bad. So this will be a nice addition. TACOM has decided they had this Strabokran, which is the German maintenance crane kit that came out maybe a couple months ago, and it has been really hard to get, and everybody's been out of them all over the world, and I was wondering why it was hard to get suddenly. You know, the first run was gone. Where is the second run? Well, it turns out that they have basically started to retool it, so it will actually come out with a version where it is for the crane for the V2 missile, and it has a few different parts on it than the original Strabokran, and so that'll be really nice. So that's what they were planning, is to redo that and reissue it. They also will be coming out with the crane in a configuration where it's a transport version, where they would basically have it on a trailer. It is its own trailer being pulled by a vehicle, so they'll have that in 35th scale as well. TACOM is also doing a M46 Patton, which will be a new tool, real nice, real welcome that it's going to be a new tool, because all the older ones are showing their age. So this will be a nice one, really easy to build. So also they mentioned and just put out some CAD images that they're supposed to do a Willys Jeep family. That will be really nice because there's so many different versions they could do. So it'll be nice to have one that is a little bit more accurate, a little bit different versions. Hopefully they won't be too expensive. TACOM is usually pretty reasonable, so we'll see what's going on with that. So next up is going to be the new kit review. All right, MouseWorks fans, welcome to the new kit review. And this week for the new kit review, we're doing the TACOM Strabokran, or Freeze Cran, 16 ton. And this is something that a lot of people wanted a long time, because it would be a nightmare to really scratch build one of those. It would take a while. Some people have in the past and have done good work, but now you can get it in a kit. So let's take a look at this one here. And side of the box showing a profiles of the crane itself, and sprue layout, which I really like that they put the whole sprue layout on the side of the box, and then some of the other releases that they've had. So let's take a look at what's inside the box here. And this kit has been hard to get a hold of because they're redoing it, as I said in the news program, to have a V2 missile system on it. Okay, the first rack is rack E, which again, I love how they do the cutouts on the little fret there, so it's easy to see. Looks like some of the trailer hitch here, some of the gears, which have the fine teeth in them, some pulleys. There's one of the big ring gears. That's going to be really nice to do some weathering on the teeth and so forth. Let's see what other parts are on here. Wow, just lots of detail in the pieces, like these right here with the cylinder. Just super fine scribing detail in there. Let's see what's next. All right, number or letter D. And this one is actually the frame, top frame itself. Lots of detail here with the different levels of H-beams and I-beams, which is really nice that you don't have to scratch build any of that, or I should say build any of that out of the kit that's already done for you. And some of the pivots on both of the legs, looking real good. Plastic is super clean. No flash. I mean, it's really well done, which this kit, if there is flash, would be detrimentous. All right, and letter C looks like some more pivot pieces, some of the adjustment posts, and some of the arms, and this is for the transport system here. Yeah, it looks real sharp. I mean, just excellent multi-level molding here. And not a lot of knockout pins. I mean, seems to be, they're using these exterior knockout pins, which help quite a bit. You have to clean up the nub, but it's better than having to get rid of a knockout pin. 2 racks of that, letter C. Next one is B, and this is some of the pivot pieces here and the extension pieces, some of the crane actual boom, I guess you could call it. Love how they mold this stuff. These really fine details. They have this, like, I don't know what you would call it, but multiple point injection areas that make it so there is not a lot of warpage and not a lot of problems with the small parts. So really well done there. And then some slide molding on the end of the these pieces here. So they are hollow. Yeah, no parts so far are too small to really deal with. I mean, they're all pretty decently sized. So they've been staying away from making real tiny stuff. There's 2 racks of that. And A is a bunch of the wheels and some of the gears, some of the rims for the wheels here. And some more gears, real tiny with the teeth. I mean, that's just incredible. And on the other side, see these open areas. These were probably already pre-planned for other parts for the other crane for the V2 and the transport version. So that looks real good there. And there's 2 racks of those. And we got a bag of the tires, which are a rubber tire, fairly rigid. These ones aftermarket probably won't do any replacements for, because the crane was not quite heavy enough to make these flattened. I mean, these were a hard tire, so they wouldn't be need to be replaced with a resin tire. So those look pretty good, and they're molded really well. There's no seam down the middle of them, which is really nice. I hate that because the rubber or vinyl is very hard to get rid of that. You can't cut it or sand it. You have to use like a bright boy to get that off, and it's very difficult. Some decals with the manufacturer's logo and so forth. I do have a book on this crane, and the company actually started slightly before World War II and went out of business in, I think, 1973. Just because the economy had gone down so far in Germany that they couldn't compete anymore. So anyways, that's got all their information and placards there. Comes with some string for the cabling, which I kind of like the string instead of actual cabling, because you can actually form it a little better, especially around the pulleys and so forth. And to give it some weight, what you can do is actually coat it with some white glue and then smooth it with your fingers so it gets the detail back of the twist of the wire, of the cable. But then once you form it and let it dry, it'll stay in that form. So, and there's a couple different diameters, as you can see in there, of that. And then they give you a big old bag of micro chain, which is really nice. This is going to be interesting to put on and clip on and glue and attach, but we'll see how that goes. But that's really nice there. So, and that's all that's there. Let me grab the instructions. and we'll take a look at those. And there you can see the profile drawing there, and parts layout, and then kind of some information on how to build and so forth. All right. One nice thing is they're starting to use shading on their diagrams, which is really nice because you can tell what direction things are going. When they were just outline drawings, it was confusing on some of their armor. With this, would be very confusing with the all the pieces of metal, the I-beams and the H-beams. You'd get confused of where something is or what direction it's in. So I like the fact that they did this with the shading. Not a lot of pieces on each step, so it makes it real smooth so you don't miss anything. Not really confusing. Here's the gearbox system here, and the side pieces here, the gantry there. Yeah, I like the layout of this. It's just not cluttered. And then they show, again, with the shading, how everything's supposed to look. Again, if this was just a black and white drawing, it would be really confusing, especially to see what's inside here and here. So, and then putting the tires together, putting the pivots together. And you can actually position this, if you actually look at the way it's set up and the way the real one works, you can actually make this so it's half elevated. You can do all kinds of different stuff with it. Here's in the transport version here. And this one, like I said, they're coming out with this with a little vehicle that would tow it. And then that's the extended, and then kind of shows you what the sides are supposed to look like. And then they come up with, oh, this is interesting. They actually show you if you want to attach it to a Panther, because they do have a version of this that comes with a Panther. It was a mystery box. You didn't know what Panther you were going to get. But anyways, it has the attachment for the Panther turret, and it shows the turret right there. So that's actually kind of nice. And then they have the color profiles here with all the different decals and markings and colors. This one's camouflage, this one's just a tan. Looks like this one's a little lighter, and then this one's camouflage with a three-tone camouflage of the late war. And then they show some advertisements, some of their older kits. So anyways, that looks to be a real fun kit, real neat ideas on dioramas and so forth, even though it's a kit in itself. So this will be a good one to build, and glad they started doing it, and I hope they do more of this kind of stuff. All right, so up next we will do the kit rewind. All right, time for the kit rewind, and for this week we're doing the an old kit that is a classic, and this is by Nitto. It's been marketed under a lot of different names, but it's the Croat from the SF3D series. Hasgawa, I believe, owns some of the rights to this now, but they have not reissued the Croat in a little bit, a few years. It is a very old kit. This, unfortunately, does not have a date on it. I looked all over for it, but this is a pretty old version of it. I mean, they even hand-stamped the serial number on it. But anyways, for you who are not familiar with this, this is basically a what-if if World War II kept going and if the technology was different, what things would look like. This particular Croat comes with the rotary cannon. They have a reissue with a giant single cannon. Anyways, 1/20th scale. Just take a look at it here. Nothing really on the sides. Like I said, Nitto was the manufacturer for a long time. All right. So this is just a blast from the past. This one's got to be at least from the 80s. So looks like the instructions are made to be like some blueprints. They're made out of like an old parchment, which is kind of interesting. The parts callouts are pretty darn small. I do know for a fact that this kit is extremely hard to build because they're very vague about how things fit together, especially in this gun area system here. They do show you how you can light it with a light bulb. This was before they had LEDs, so they just show a light bulb on the big floodlight on the front. And some of these used to be really, this was all the rage with these small details. The armor guys loved them. I mean, it was one of the first kits to have photo etch parts on it. And little grill grates and stuff like that. So, of course, by today's standards, this could be upgraded quite a bit. Main body here, which is actually made to pivot, and the little soldier, driver, or whatever, mechanic, and it actually has real springs in it too for the suspension on the legs. And then it shows kind of a exploded view of everything, if you want to just use that to build with. So, all right. So inside we've got a bag. There's the bag, the springs, and the photo etch piece, which is actually pre-bent, which is kind of nice. But yeah, like I said, that in the 80s was just really wow that they would have that kind of stuff, and tubes and springs and things like that. This was before any of those Dragon kits had all that stuff in them. So this goes way back. Here's some decals. It gives you different numbers you can put on there, different group markings for whatever group it is. Gives you a little card, almost like a collector's card. Kind of shows the different paint schemes, and then a drawing of some of the details there, all in Japanese. And let's see what we got in the kit here. So we've got the mechanic. Not bad. Fairly detailed. Should come out all right. Let's see. Here is the feet, and of course no slide molding or any of that kind of stuff, but pretty advanced molding on it. Some suspension pieces here with the springs. All right, next up is that's got the light on it with the low visibility light cover, and all these little wiry details. Like I said, that was just all the rage. Yeah, this was supposed to be all the kit, but it was a pain to build. A lot of people did different versions of it too. And then here's the motor. Looks like almost like a two-cylinder motorcycle engine that ran the thing. Just try to give it some realism to make it look like it was actually feasible. All right. And then is some of the body pieces here. The torso. And these pieces here was, again, a really neat thing. There wasn't very many panels, but there was a few, and they were actually engraved, which was really neat too, because this came out when almost all models were had raised details. And then it comes with a couple pieces of copper rod for different things. Copper, so it can bend really easy. So anyways, that's pretty neat. And that's about it for that kit. That is a blast from the past. I mean, what's really nice is it's come full circle. This is an old kit, but now with all the new techniques of chipping and weathering and rust chipping and things like that, you could really go to town on this, and some people have. So if you actually held on to it and haven't built it for a while, or built it and want to repaint it, the new techniques lend themselves awesome to this now. So anyways, that is the kit rewind. And up next is the new gear. Welcome, MouseWorks fans, to the new gear section of the news program. And for this week, I've got kind of something different. Basically, what these are is they are different tools that are basically made for surgery and for the medical industry, but if you try to buy them as a medical tool, they're extremely expensive. But I found if you actually go to some of the stores, the fishing stores or the sporting goods stores, there's a company that actually came out with these, and it's called Dr. Slick, and it's made for specifically fly tying and so forth. And what's nice is they made them very inexpensive. These range anywhere from I'd say $6 to $15, but they're really handy. You can kind of identify them by the gold handles that are plated, so they won't corrode or have problems with infections and so forth. So they're pretty clean and easy to clean in a ultrasonic cleaner. Anyways, the reason I really like these is these are only a small section of them, but what they've got, for example, this one is an extremely fine, extremely tight cutting surface. And besides the fact that they are hand machined and made to be extremely tight so you don't get any fold over, is the fact that you can buy these with actually teeth. You can't really see it on here, but this actually has a serration on the edge of it. And so it actually works like a knife to use the serrations to cut different materials. So fine you can't even see it. You can feel it, but when you get by them, the package will actually tell you whether it has serrations or not. So they do have those versions. Again, hand ground on both sides. Everything fits really, really nice. And the little Dr. Slick logo. This one, let's do this one here first. This one's really, really interesting. It's a curved set of scissors. So what this is nice for is, especially if you're doing shipbuilding and so forth, you can actually get in and around other rigging and do cuts and so forth. It's also good for decal sheets if you have something round and you can just go around it without having to accidentally fold the decal paper. So again, fits really super tight. This one here is a pair of hemostats where it's got the locking teeth on here. And it's got a little alignment pin there. Again, really super accurate stuff for not a lot of money. Again, these can come with ones with textured jaws with actual serrations on here, or smooth. The smooth is the one that I have. They have short ones. They have real short teeth. They have jaw. They have long jaw. This particular one I thought was about medium. And again, it locks so you can actually hold stuff with it. And the last one is these guys, and these are actually a set of scissors, and you can see how fine they are to get into fine detail area. And again, for rigging and ships and just small stuff. I have not tried any of these with photo etched. I don't think they would fare well with photo etched, but they do cut pretty thick material, foil and so forth. So. But yeah, these have come in really handy. I don't use them that often, but when I need them, that's the only thing that's going to work. And some of them come with the rubber tubing to keep them from poking you or getting bent. So anyways, that's the new gear, something I picked up. I think this was at Sportsman's Warehouse. And like I said, a lot of the sporting goods stores will carry these. Great to have, inexpensive, and they work great. So thanks for watching, and keep on building. Hello, and thanks, MouseWorks fans, for watching another episode of modeling news around the world. And I always appreciate the support. And if you haven't done it already, please subscribe and hit the bell so you get any of the updates. I try to do these as often as I can. Tell your friends about this channel, and we will try to get the information to as many people as possible. And I always would like to thank the people for supporting the MouseWerx channel with the MouseWerx merchandise. As always, we always have that for sale. If you have any questions about that, visit our website at www.mousewerx.com, or leave a comment below, and I will get you set. And we got all kinds of neat stuff, and it helps keep this channel going. So thanks for the support, and keep on building.